Under the Dome Season 2, Episode 8, Awakening. Now, first off, I'd like to say for anyone who may have been waiting for me to put this video up, sorry that the review is up so late. I'm only a day late, but this one's fairly late compared to normal. But I was finally able to sit down and watch the episode, and I definitely enjoyed it. It was a pretty good one. We're getting a whole new storyline outside of the dome, which I find very interesting, and I really can't wait to see how things go in next week's episode with Barbie having been captured at the end of this one, because I feel like that's going to lead to a lot of things happening. Like with the dome being what it is, outside the dome, it's just the biggest thing that's happened in like human history. No one knows what the heck this is. Technology, aliens, all sorts of crazy speculations, and then Barbie gets captured, and it's like, hey, I don't know if he'll actually tell anyone that's why he went to the dome, but he'd have to come up with some really crazy lie, or he might just lie in general so that he can't be found out. But he goes to the dome, he gets caught at the end, but the rest of the episode is just really good, setting up this new storyline, especially with his father, and how he even knows about the egg is a mystery, why he gives a crap, what does he know, what has he experienced before. And my one guess is that Barbie's mother somehow was connected to the dome. Maybe something happened in Zenith before, and it happened with Barbie's mother, and that's why Zenith is like the other city. But it wasn't like the egg thing. Maybe it was something like a lesser form of that or whatever. And it was Barbie's mother that was involved with that, and that's why his father knows. But I don't know. Maybe he would want to try to make money off of it or something. I mean, he's doing illegal stuff as is, sort of having that backdoor channel to the Wi-Fi so that he can basically open and close it whenever he wants to. So that's fairly interesting to me. And also, it seems kind of stupid that they would even cut off the Wi-Fi, considering it's not the dome. Like, since they actually explained that in this episode, like when they first did it, it seemed like it was just this weird random thing that happened, kind of like it was Angie dying, so some stuff was kind of going crazy in the dome, and that's why that happened. But they explained it like, no, it's just the military kind of cut off the internet there. It almost seems like it makes no sense to me, but I don't know. I just think that that's kind of a dumb thing to have in the show, where like, why would the military cut off all contact like that? You think if anything, they'd be like, hey, let's try to communicate in any form we possibly can with anyone inside the dome. But they just shut the place down. But that's just a minor thing that caught my attention. Like, it doesn't, with it being an explanation that it is just uh, basically just a directive from an officer in the military. It's not the dome that's stopping the internet. It's actual people stopping the communication between the dome and the outside world, and that seems like it just kind of destroys all common sense. Like, why wouldn't you want to get in touch with these people? But they use that as a way to get Barbie a message to Julia. So basically, four of our main characters know that Barbie is actually alive and that it's really him, and he's outside the dome. So the kids are back at the restaurant, so they don't really know what happened yet, but I'm sure Julia will inform them on everything that went down. And unfortunately, Big Jim has found out that Barbie is outside the dome too, so I don't know how that's gonna go. He'll have to argue with Julia. I can kind of see that happening, where Julia will tell him like, Barbie told me don't jump because it's not safe out there. I don't know why. He obviously couldn't talk because he was getting arrested. So she'll have to tell Big Jim like, hey, you, it's a way out, but it's not safe for whatever reason. And that's just like the weird conspiracy military reason, and no one even knows about the mental stuff that's happening. Like, Lyle was cured in this episode, and Sam is still going through his thing, and it was little by little. And that was something I thought of actually hours ago. I was thinking like, what will I end up seeing in this episode? And we did, of course, see Sam sort of going through his struggles, and it's still just his hands. It seemed like it was a little bit worse, but at the same time, he was being way more precise. It wasn't just his entire hand shaking for no reason, but his hand's still shaking a little bit, which his sister probably didn't notice because it's like, if he kills this guy and all this type of stuff, so she probably didn't think it was anything other than he's really nervous. He hasn't done this in a long time too, so it was really a perfect excuse for him to be shaky, and you wouldn't expect anything of it because he was an alcoholic. He'd been drinking and this and that for I think it'd been years, like 2 years or something. So him getting back into that for the very first time, there would be no suspicion whatsoever that his hand would start shaking. Like, I haven't done this in years because I kind of lost it and was an alcoholic. So it's kind of cool that that sort of background story on his character kind of makes perfect sense, and that his sister would know that. And I guess it was more than 2 years. I don't really remember. I mean, I know he got banned for drinking. I just can't remember if she was alive at that point, and I don't think she was. If it was 2 years, then she'd been, dead for long before that. But either way, it wasn't suspicious to her, but we got to see it. We didn't get to see anything with Barbie, and that's kind of what I was hoping for too. As far as his scars and stuff, I don't think that's gonna have any effect. I think it's just the fact that he has scars, so they're healing. I don't think that's gonna play into whatever random problem he ends up having. But we didn't get to see that in this episode either, unfortunately. And I'm really curious as to how that's gonna affect him. But Barbie ends up with sort of a new partner, and then he finds out later in the episode that that guy actually works for his dad. So that was pretty interesting when he came across him, and the guy was able to get him into the dome and stuff. Unfortunately, he did get captured, but that guy is basically responsible for opening and closing the Wi-Fi portal into the dome, and he's been really just checking on his dad, like, what is this guy doing? Why did he need to change this message and stuff like that? So he'll be in there. He'll probably help Barbie. I'm sure Barbie won't rat him out or anything. So if he's able to get out and his dad's able to help him, which unfortunately might automatically rat the guy out, because it's like you couldn't have possibly gotten in here without anyone else's help. So that might come into play in next week's episode too. But he's found a reason not to have Julia jump out, which is all this crazy conspiracy stuff going on with how his dad knows about the egg and this and that. And then the other reason that we as the viewers know, and like Sam and Lyle know, is mentally it messes with you, or physically it jumping through that portal will mess with you somehow. So there are two reasons now not to jump through. Big Jim will have to be convinced of that. So will a lot of the townspeople, because you have this reasons like, so what if he says that? Like, we don't know this guy. He's this random. Everyone pretty much knows like he has some crazy background because he has all these skills, and that's about it. So who gives a crap? And they're gonna have people jump through, I have to guess. But I can't wait to see that in next week's episode. The two, I guess there were kind of three stories in this one, although one was just split between the dome and outside. I really enjoyed that. I can't wait to see the story of like Barbie and then Sam, Lyle, and Sam's sister kind of merge together, because they're gonna find out what this red door is. I don't know how they're gonna do that, but somehow they're gonna get connected to Barbie, and then that's gonna be good just to see Sam and Barbie go at each other, and then Lyle's gonna be in the mix in there. And then they're gonna realize that this red door is connected to Barbie's mother, and I don't know how that plays into it, if she's somehow gonna come back to life too, like Melanie did. But that's gonna come together, and then of course they're gonna figure out some stuff with the dome. But I can't wait for that to happen. And then the other side of this episode was really good as well. Phil, who I thought was just dead, they really made it seem like he died, and then we find out in this episode he didn't die. He was just in the hospital. So him being the one who was attacking Big Jim was pretty interesting. He set the stuff on fire, attacked him, and it was crazy. I didn't expect him to be alive, but that was the cool twist at the end of the episode. And he kind of realized the error of his ways, trusting Big Jim, because it's Big Jim, and that's just bad news. So that was fairly interesting. And then of course he got caught at the end. So not much happened. I thought it was gonna end there, and it was gonna go into the next episode where Big Jim was just gone, and whoever did it, well, since they showed Phil, like Phil was gonna have Big Jim somewhere for basically all of next week's episode. But overall, that was a really good episode. Can't wait for the stories to merge. Can't wait to see what Big Jim does next week. And I'm really curious, mostly Big Jim and what happens to Barbie. Like, how's he gonna get out of that situation? Those are the things I'm excited to see. Also, something I noticed when I was watching the episode, Barbie was when he was writing to Julia, he was writing backwards for himself, and I didn't think about that because they showed it from Julia's point of view, and it was like, okay, don't do this. But if I wrote "don't do it" and I wrote it like I was reading it, it would be backwards for her. And I was thinking he was just writing super fast. Like, wow, it was just funny to me, because I would have been like, oh no, that's backwards for her, and then I'd have to like try to flip it around. She wouldn't have got anything out of me because I would have been trying to write the words backwards and would have kept failing. But I thought that was a random funny thing I noticed. Like, I never would have been able to do it that fast. I'd be super nervous, and spelling it backwards for her, and like you're just gonna have to figure it out, which wouldn't be that hard, honestly. But enjoyed the episode. Can't wait to see how all these stories converge, and I definitely can't wait to see what new crazy thing Big Jim does in next week's episode. Of course, comment below. Let me know what you guys thought about it. Your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And of course, now that Big Jim does know that there is a way out of the dome, because of course he saw Barbie alive, what do you guys think is going to happen? What do you guys think that he's going to go crazy and try to do in next week's episode? Comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.